What's up, Manna, you majors? Welcome back to our series for this month, in which we're going to be looking at the book of Joshua and pondering how we can have assurance of what's most important when things are uncertain. Last week we talked about how even when the people couldn't be certain how they were going to get over the Jordan, Joshua told them to prepare anyway. As they're preparing, Joshua sends 2 spies. There's a lot we can talk about there, but for today I'm not going to focus on the spies that went into Canaan. I'm just going to go ahead and focus on Joshua chapter 3, when Israel finally crosses the Jordan. Now, the 3 days have passed since Joshua told the officers to command the people to prepare. Now, the officers go through the camp and tell them, as soon as you see the Ark of the Covenant being carried by the priests, set out from where you are and follow it. Joshua tells the people, consecrate themselves, meaning make themselves holy, because God is going to do an extraordinary work among them. So, the time comes. The priests are walking toward the Jordan, carrying the Ark of the Covenant. The people are following at a respectful distance. They're told to do so. And as soon as the priest's feet dipped into the water stopped flowing down the river and rose up in a heap very far away, we're told. We're told that it was all the way at a city upstream called Adam, where the waters rose up, leaving lots of dry land for the priests to walk on and for the people to cross as they followed. The priest stood on the dry land of the Jordan, still holding the Ark of the Covenant as the people passed with haste, is what we're told. Imagine being one of those priests for just a moment. We're told the people pass with haste. Why? Well, we aren't told why, but I can imagine. Part of it's because there's a lot of them, but also part of it's because I wouldn't want to be there when the water stops stopping and starts starting. But the priests, they don't get the opportunity to move with haste. The priests stand there until all work done on the riverbed is done. They even stay there while leaders of the tribes go and collect rocks to build a monument to what God has done here in this day. So finally, when the Israelite leaders have made a monument to what God did for them and the people have all crossed, then the priests leave the riverbed, and only when they return to the land does the water again begin to flow. Now there's a lot of faith here. It's easy to look at this story and think that this is just another case of the crossing of the Red Sea. God just did the exact same thing again. But if you remember, the Red Sea wasn't entered until it had been parted. Here, the priests were commanded to carry the ark into the river. That takes faith, because you're not waiting to see if it's going to work before you walk into it. You're actually walking into it to see if it'll work. Then they've got to stand in the river, and that takes faith. But the coolest thing to me about this story is that it shows us more about God than anything. And it showed the Israelites a lot too. For one, it showed them that the works of God they may have forgotten from their youth, or they may not have been alive to witness even the first time in Egypt, were real. Everyone has experienced the provision of God in the wilderness, but not everyone saw the parting of the Red Sea. So now they're seeing that God not only had power in Egypt and Sinai, but in Canaan as well. It showed them that not only did God have the power, but he also loved the people enough to provide their needs for them in a really big way when they really needed it. Sometimes I can get scared or concerned or even have a lack of hope when I think about elements of the future. I can find myself wondering how things are going to work out. But in these times, I find the best solution to be pondering the works of God's hands. Considering these stories of how God has provided for his people in the past, then considering how God has provided for me. When I start praying and I'm frustrated, anxious, or concerned, I can turn everything on its head by starting to thank God for what he has done rather than thinking about the problems with my circumstances. Even when I'm not in a thankful mood, I can start with thanks and it turns everything around. And I would encourage you to do the same. Next time you're feeling fearful or concerned or frustrated about a predicament, start with gratitude and recognition of what is certain, God's character and his provision for you. That doesn't mean you won't have work to do. It doesn't mean your circumstances are desirable, but it does allow you to recognize that as monumental as your circumstances may be, you can look to the monuments of what God has done for you in the past and consider how he will help you in the days to come. Well, that's all I've got for you today, folks. Thank you for joining me for this month of Manna U Moments.